It is week 57 of EconoChat. Let's talk business with Mr. Daniel Steinman. A warm welcome to all our listeners, and of course also a warm welcome to Mr. Daniel Steinman. It is LCB hosting you for today, and of course also previous talks that we've had, but we have not had a discussion, Mr. Daniel Steinman, after the 2023 to 2024 budget was tabled. So we need to dig into this, and people have been talking after the budget was tabled. They have been talking, and everybody seems, or most of the citizens seems to be happy, or in some way
very
happy,
positive
with the budget, but of course there is a but, and also probably a thin line. But of course I would want you to bring about clarity on why I am saying that. And we are talking about the PSCE.
That's a big word, LCB. You now need to explain to us what it means.
Private sector credit extension. Yeah.
Good day, LCP, and good day, listeners.
Yes.
It's very good that you bring up the budget in relationship to the statistics on the private sector. Because you are 100% correct if you say that the budget was received very positively. And the reason is because of the very, very substantial growth on the expenditure side.
Yeah.
It's about 9.8 billion Namibia dollar more than what it was last year. So that is quite a lot. And it's a nominal growth of about 12%. So you have to dig into the figures to find out where this comes from. And if you look at it, all of the increase on the expenditure side is not an increase in the economy. It's a 9.8 billion increase in the so-called SACU transfers. The money or the cut that we get according to the revenue sharing formula under the SACU agreement, which is the Southern African Customs Union. So it means it is determined by international trade.
Yeah.
And the moment I say international trade, it implies goods and services coming into the customs union and leaving the customs union. But because it's a customs union, it's obvious that the biggest partner is South Africa. And this is one of the skewed aspects of the local or the regional economy, is that South Africa is about 84% of SACU and about 60-something% of SADC. So South Africa is still the heavyweight, even after 30 years. It's such a dominant economy.
Very much.
And this is also reflected in the fact that it was invited to become part of BRICS. It didn't apply to become part of BRICS. So now we come back to our budget.
Yeah.
And we see we are a small fraction of the South African economy, roughly 3%, and the Botswana economy is roughly 3.4%, slightly bigger contribution than ours. But all the others are small fish, they are less than 1%, their contribution to the SACU economy. So the impact is that we get a bigger slice, a bigger allocation than, according to the revenue sharing formula, than our direct slice or our direct contribution in international trade. We are advantaged. There's a specific benefit built into the formula for Botswana and for us. And that gave us a 9.8 billion windfall, which we did not know about in October last year when we had the mid-year budget review. So this, and I was actually quite amazed because I expected the SACU transfers to increase by about 4 billion, and then out came the figures, 9.8 billion, more than double. And every analyst in this country just went like, wow, unbelievable. But that also has a major impact on the way that we budget, a 12% impact, so that we are now at a point where the SACU transfers, or at least for this year, the money that we get from SACU and the money that we have to pay as interest on our debt, they're not exactly the same, but there's a balance.
Okay.
And now we get to the very weird situation, and that's why I'm so glad that you ask about private sector credit extension, because that statistic was released only a week ago. And we have to look at what happened with private sector credit. Now, private sector credit is just a big word for the amount of money that companies borrow.
Yeah.
The confidence that they have to go to the bank and say, hey, we need 10 million or we need 100 million or whatever. Companies usually borrow big.
Yeah.
So the borrowings of companies have an extraordinary big impact in the rest of the economy. And if we look at what it did in 2020, it basically imploded. And when we come back, Elsaby, after a short break, I'm going to look at what PSCE were from about 2010 onwards, because that will give us an indication of where we are headed, what it's supposed to be.
Okay, all right. And you have heard what my co-host just said, that we will be back after a short break.